everybody, welcome back to My Big Sister podcast. My name is Grace and this is my big sister Josie.
Hello everyone, thank you for joining us. And in today's episode we're going to be talking all about influencer secrets. Grace is going to be spilling some tea and then we're going to be answering some questions from you guys. So
hope you enjoy and let's get into it. Okay, so in today's episode, we're going to be talking all about the influencer, content creator industry, social media, because I've been doing this as my job for almost 5 years now. So I feel like I have a lot of knowledge and like also I've seen a lot of strange things happen. I know a lot of gossip in the industry. I feel like, so we're going to get into it and just talk about our kind of journeys on social media, because Josie also does post on social media and
not quite as much as you.
Yeah, it's not your full-time job, you have like a normal office job, but we've both been posting online since lockdown pretty much, haven't we? So yeah, we're going to talk about our experiences and some secrets and then answer some questions. I feel like you actually was like an influencer before me, because Josie when we both started posting on TikTok in lockdown, I started first and then I said to you like, you should get on TikTok, like it's really fun, and she was doing lots of like art stuff and you were doing paintings in lockdown, so I was like, you should start posting about this. And then I told Josie to start posting, and when she did, she overtook me in followers. I remember I was trying to hit
at one point I had more followers than Grace.
I was like
we were having a battle.
I was trying to hit 100,000 followers on TikTok and Josie got it in like a few weeks, whereas I'd been doing it for months at that point, trying to get like any followers. So you overtook me at first, so you're like the original influencer of the family.
Yeah, but the only reason that people followed me was because I was doing this challenge to sketch every country in the world. So I think people wanted to either see their country or see if I could finish the challenge. So then that's why they followed me, I think. So yeah, I don't know if it really counts as like, but I think being an influencer.
I think that is a good tip if anyone's wanting to start their own socials. Do some sort of like series, because everyone wanted to see like the end of the challenge, so people then followed you to keep
they were like,
up to date.
I want to remember this girl, I don't want to just scroll past because I want to see what she's going to get up to, so then they're more likely to follow. And also just in 2020 it was way easier to get followers
and
than
to go viral. But so I started posting then about Gossip Girl, which basically I was rewatching the TV show Gossip Girl at the time because it had been added to Netflix and I had nothing better to do in lockdown, and I started posting some videos about the show and like the fashion on the show, and some of them did well, and I was like, oh, I'm going to post more of these, and I just kept posting Gossip Girl, and then I kind of became like a Gossip Girl fan account, like by accident really, and that's how I started on social media in lockdown. And at the time I was not like telling people from school, like I was a bit embarrassed. Like I remember when I first started posting on TikTok, like I posted a few like random videos, like fashion ones for college, like what I was wearing to college that day before even lockdown had started, and I did a video like about how I crashed my car when I was in school, and at the time I had posted them, and then I remember, I think I've said this before in the podcast, but I was in business class, in my A-level business class, which was all boys apart from me and my friend Tia. And then one of the boys that sat next to us was like, I think Tia had said like, you've been posting on TikTok, and then one of the boys overheard and was like, let me see your TikTok, and then he like got it up on his phone, like showed the whole class, and we were sat on like a circle table, so everyone was like watching my videos, and I was so embarrassed that I like went and deleted them all, and then it took me like a few months to start posting again. So yeah, I had like tried and failed kind of once, and then when I started getting more followers on the Gossip Girl account, I was like a bit embarrassed in case that happened again with like people from school finding my account, so I didn't like post about it on Instagram at the time because I didn't have that many followers on TikTok. But then I remember when I hit, you know, on TikTok you have like your followers, and then on your profile it says how many likes you have. I hit 10 million likes on my TikTok page, and I was like, wow, I've made it, like this is crazy. And I remember I did an Instagram post of like a selfie of me. This is when I was like a private account on Instagram still.
I was gonna say, like, you weren't posting on Instagram and TikTok at the same time,
no, I was
because
just
there wasn't
doing
even
TikTok.
Reels on Instagram at that point.
No, so then I posted a selfie being like, mood when you hit 10 million likes on TikTok, and then all the comments were like, what? Like, we didn't know you had to, like, and everyone was like confused and was messaging me like, what's your TikTok? Like,
Oh,
why
so
do
you
have...
didn't even post what your TikTok was?
No, like, people didn't follow it because I was like on purpose trying to hide it from people that I know in real
Sneaky.
life. So then, but then when I got 10 million, I was like, wow, I'm cool now. So
Yeah.
I'm going to post about it. So I think that post is still up on my Instagram where I'm like,
I'm going to scroll back and find
when
that.
you hit 10 million likes on TikTok. So yeah, that's when I then started posting on Instagram and made my account public and started posting, like, I think Reels had just started in, I think it was like 2021 when they started having Reels. So I started uploading my TikToks and Reels, and just gradually it just grew and grew, and I've been doing it as my job for like quite a few years now. Obviously I was at uni the past 3 years, but now that I've graduated uni, I'm doing it as my full-time job, which is crazy, and I feel like it's so random, and I never thought I would be doing that.
What do you think is, so talking about influencer secrets, what do you think is the craziest thing you've realised, or the biggest misconception that you didn't realise before you were an influencer to now when you are one?
I think one thing I didn't realise was the stress that comes with being self-employed, because in my head, and even like not just influencers, just sort of any celebrities or like anyone you see on reality TV or like actors, I never really thought about how they like make money, or like the process of how they get paid. I kind of just assumed like they're on a salary. Like if you're like a TV presenter, you would just get a salary. But the majority of those types of jobs, you would be self-employed and you would be paid like from the company, and then you have to like file your own taxes and everything. And when I started being self-employed, it kind of opened my eyes to like, I was just thinking of all these celebrities. I was like, but how does Molly May understand this? Or like just any celebrity like I followed online that seemed like quite a regular person and not too like business minded. I was like, how is anyone else understanding this? Because I'm studying business at uni, and even I don't understand all these things that I have to do to be self-employed. And I was just thinking of like, even just any celebrity, I was like, Taylor Swift, like, how does she physically, like, obviously she hires people to organise her finances. I don't even want to think about
Taylor Swift's finances. That scares me.
But like, how does she like do her taxes, or like...
She doesn't do her taxes.
But I just can't even compute like how that would even work. And it really opened my eyes of like how much more there is to the job than you think. And I've said this before, it's really not a hard job being an influencer, and I'm not complaining at all. But there was just so many things that like opened my eyes to like, there's all this stuff like expenses, and how when you get paid, if you have a management, you have to give them a cut, and like obviously a cut goes to the tax people. So like when you hear that an influencer gets paid a certain amount for a job, like they're not actually getting that whole amount of money. They're probably sending 20% to their agent, 20% to the tax people, or more than that depending on your tax rate, and then you've got to spend that money on certain expenses. Like if, for example, the podcast, I had to buy these mics for the podcast, which counts as like a business expense.
I bought the other.
Yeah. But yeah, there's just so many things I didn't think. And then I started thinking of like all these actors and like people on telly, I'm like, they are all self-employed and they're all doing this. Like it's a whole world I just wasn't really aware of. And I think I was a bit naive. I just kind of thought like you just get paid and it's fine. It's sort of the same as having a normal job, but really it's so different, and it can be so stressful. And so many influencer friends that I have don't do their taxes properly because they just don't understand it. And I know it'll probably come back to bite them one day, because there can be so many like consequences if you're not filing your taxes properly.
One thing I realised when I moved to Australia is that it's actually quite weird that in the UK if you have a full-time job, you don't file taxes, because in other countries, if you have a job, even still, you have to file taxes. Like in the US and in Australia, you have to do that.
In the UK, like normally if you just have a standard job with a salary, the taxes get taken out of your paycheck before it even gets to your bank account, and the company just does all the paperwork for the taxes. Whereas in other countries, even if you have a job, you still have to file stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think basically just no one in the UK knows about taxes.
No, because I just
if you have a full-time job, no one really does it.
But like all the jobs I'd had in the past, I didn't have to think about taxes. It just got taken out of my paycheck before it got to me, and I knew that amount of money in my bank account I could spend. Whereas I think some influencers fall into the trap of like, they've got this certain amount of money for a brand deal. Oh, I can buy a new designer handbag and like just buy it.
And also they're not factoring in the fact that, they might get a lot for a brand deal, but are they going to get another one of those anytime soon?
And like if you just spent all that money, you're forgetting you have to put aside so much for taxes, which can be between 20 and like 40% of that money is you have to, that's not your money, like that's the tax people's money, so you can't spend that. And then obviously once you pay your bills and your living expenses and pay your agent or anyone that like hires an editor or any jobs like that, you don't have as much as you think at the end of the brand deals. And obviously it's still a very well paid job, but I think some people just forget that. And I see a lot of influencers who are buying all this designer stuff or like having really expensive apartments in London that they're paying all this rent for, and I think it's kind of scary because at some point like the money might run out and you just don't know when that would be,
especially if you've built your entire platform on like Instagram or TikTok or whatever. You don't know, like look at all what happened when TikTok went away in the US. You just don't know what can happen.
It is really scary.
You're kind of relying on these big social media platforms that you don't know what they could change in the algorithm. They might tweak something one day and suddenly your content doesn't get shown and you lose all your brand deals. It's quite scary.
And I think another thing that I didn't realise when it came to this job is how like it kind of can be like school, especially at these events. It can be quite like can be lots of drama and there can be like lots of like cliques and like maybe bitchiness, and it kind of feels like you're still at school. And I think the reason for that is because so many of these influencers start so young that they were literally in school when they started the job, and then they never like have a normal job in the adult world. So those people
never
like
learned to be professional.
Like they never like outgrow that kind of the way you communicate with your friends and stuff.
Don't they say that with famous people they stay the age mentally that they were when they became famous? That's why child stars are so messed up.
I feel like you could apply that to like influencers, because there's so many people that are so famous so young from social media. Like I mean, there's like the family channels, which is honestly
you were hanging out with people and you didn't realize, and suddenly they were like, I'm 16 or something.
Like there are a lot of influencers in the UK, especially. I feel like it's all TikTok. Like you can get famous on TikTok, and people that are young are looking for people the same age as them to follow. So there's a lot of UK influencers, like beauty ones especially, that will do like get ready with me for school, and they're like in year 7. Wow. And that's how young they are when they started.
Some kind of protections or something.
Crazy. When I go to these sort of events in London, of like fashion events or beauty events, and there's some girls there that are drinking alcohol and they're not even like 18, and it's like the first time they've got drunk, it's a free bar. And like it can be pretty like unsafe for those people. And at events sometimes, like if there's young girls there, and then maybe if there's men or other people in the room that like don't realize how young these girls are and they're trying to like get their number, like I feel like it can be quite unsafe. And if your child is posting on social media, hopefully you would go with them to these events. But also it's not like cool to bring your mum to these sorts of events. So I don't really know. I feel like maybe brands just need to be more aware of like safeguarding their talent and like not inviting people to events if they're under 18, because I feel like it could be a recipe for lots of things going wrong.
Do they even ask your age? Do the brands, is it done through the managers? How do they know ages and things like that?
Normally, if you're actually like doing a paid deal with a brand, it will say in the contract sometimes like you must be over 18. Like for example, if it was like an underwear brand, they want to make sure that the talent is over 18. But in terms of like events, I've never been asked my age. I mean, I guess if you search me up, you could find out how old I am, and probably.
But that's not through any official way of knowing how old you are. That would just be from what you've said.
Yeah, and like a lot of influencer.
You could be lying. How do they know?
Well, yeah, a lot of influencer events you can take a +1, so I could just take like anyone I want. I'm not gonna ask the age of the person I'm bringing. And most of these events have free alcohol, and it's just like a free bar, which I think if you're young and impressionable, like you're gonna take advantage of that, because that's not something that you're used to as like a 16 or 17-year-old to have unlimited free alcohol. And it can be like I often think like these venues that the events are being hosted in, like it's not legal to serve under 18s alcohol, and I don't know how it is allowed to happen. But it is scary, and I feel like I am scared for like the younger generation of people who are like posting so much on TikTok. And I see these posts of girls like quite kind of inappropriate like posts and like kind of thirst traps, and I'm like, you're like 14, and it can be quite scary. I feel like maybe the actual app should have more of a screening process in place of like, you can't make an account unless you post your ID and it says you're a certain age.
I think they were trying to bring that in Australia, actually. They had more strict rules around that they're bringing in. But yeah, it's kind of hard because how do you really, unless you can do it through some sort of ID system.
I feel like you could do that. Like, you could say you have to upload a picture of a photo ID, like your passport.
But then what if you just got your older sibling's passport?
But like there are a lot of things I sign up to, like when I got monetized on YouTube, you had to upload your passport, and I think they actually check it, like a human checks it. But I guess if everyone had to do that to sign up to TikTok, it would be too many people doing it to like be approved
I don't think there
properly.
would be enough people to check.
But I know I'm pretty sure on like dating apps you can become like verified on the dating app by showing your ID to prove that you're like a real person. So I think it could be done.
Yeah.
And I know some people want that to happen in terms of like people that leave hate comments. They want the apps to be able to track it back to a real person and like possibly like get the police involved if there was like multiple hate comments, which I think is interesting. But it's all like a question of like free speech and stuff, like whether you should be allowed to be anonymous on social media or whether like the government should be able to tell like what you're commenting on stuff.
That could go down a difficult, confusing path.
Yeah, but I feel like definitely with events and stuff and these young influencers, I just get really worried for them, and I'm like, I hope they're okay, because it's so scary to like have all those followers at such a young age. And then as well with the money side of things, like I don't even know how it works with paying taxes if you're under 18. Like I don't know how that works. There must be things in place for like child actors and stuff. But yeah, I feel like there's so much stuff that just no one has questioned yet because it's such a new industry and like it's such a new thing.
What about with PR packages and stuff? I wonder what that does when you're so young. I mean, you were receiving them from quite a young age. Yeah. How does that kind of warp or change your perspective on stuff in general?
Yeah, I feel like PR packages, if you don't know, a lot of influencers will get sent like free stuff all the time basically, and you get sent like the newest skincare or makeup, and these brands will send you these really extravagant like boxes that are like really beautifully laid out, and I'm so grateful for whenever I get any of those. It does, I do get excited, even though I get sent a lot of PR. Every time I open one, it feels a bit like I'm opening a birthday present and I'm like, oh, what's in here? Because that's another thing, you don't know it's coming most of the time. Like most of the time I just get sent these packages to my house and I'm like, how did they get my address? Sometimes I'm like, how has this happened? But normally it's my manager, because I have a manager for my social media, which is a whole nother thing to talk about. I feel like people don't really understand what like a manager is.
Yeah, or what they do or how it works.
Basically,
would you say most big accounts have managers at this point?
Yeah, I would say the majority of anyone that makes money on social media has some sort of team. I mean, if you're like a super big influencer like Molly May, she has her own actual manager that she employs as like a person that's only for her. Whereas if you're like a smaller creator, you'll probably be managed by a manager or an agency. So there's these social media influencer agencies where they'll have like so many staff, and then each of those staff members might look after like 5 or 10 or sometimes even 50 different talent, and they will be the ones negotiating the brand deals, emailing brands and trying to like get deals for the talent, and then the talent agent will take a cut of every deal that they get for the talent. So yeah, I've been managed by someone for quite a few years now. I've been at a few different agencies and I've left some and then I've joined. The current one I'm with is my lovely manager Siobhan, who probably is listening to this, so hello Siobhan if you're listening. And she just has her own agency, but it's just her that works there, and then she manages like 5 or 6 of us girls. But yeah, so she's like very close to me, like because there's only 5 of us and it's just her as the manager, and she will basically, so her email is in my bio, so if a brand wants to work with me, they will email her directly, and then she will negotiate the deal. She will tell them like how many posts I want to do for how much money. She will like work out how much I should be charging, and then once she's done all that and negotiated, she will then message me and say, okay, we've got this deal with this brand, it's for this much money for this many posts, do you want to do it? And then might say, oh, I think it's a bit low, or like, this is really good money, Grace, you should take it this time, or like, maybe we should ask them for less posts or more money. And then once she does all the negotiation, then when it comes to posting the ad, like, I will send Siobhan the stuff for approval, and then she will deal with the brand. So like, I don't have to actually do any of the like emails back and forth. She will do it all for me. And then at the end, when I get paid, she will take a cut of the final fee. So I'm basically paying her a cut for account of all the work she's done towards getting me that deal. And I honestly do think if you have a really good agent, a really good talent manager, they will be able to get you like much more deals than I would be able to get myself. So it's worth it to pay them a certain percent, because I'm definitely getting more than that percent more money than if I was managing myself. Because first of all, I wouldn't know what to charge, which is something when I first started posting and I didn't have a manager yet. I had no idea. So brands would email me like, how much for this post? And I would try and Google it, like, how many followers, if I have this many followers, how much should I charge? And I would just say a random number. And then sometimes they'd just say yes straight away. And I'd be like, oh no, maybe I should have said more.
You should have said more.
Yeah, or they'd come back and say, no, we can only afford half of that. And then I'd be like, can they? And like, I just never knew how much to charge. And I feel like I'm quite a people pleaser, so I wouldn't want to like argue with them. So I would just be like, yeah, sure. But then
whereas a manager knows what the rates are, because they're very aware of all the different levels and all the different rates they can get.
If you've got a manager that's working with like different talent, they obviously know how much their other talent is charging, or like how much that brand has paid another talent in the company. So they can come back and say, actually, you paid so and so this much, and Grace has even more followers than her, so we should be charging more and stuff like that. So she'll be able to kind of know more what's going on. And I feel like I just don't have that. I don't have that many connections and like knowledge of the industry to know myself. So it's definitely worth it for me. And Siobhan is just also great, and she's like helps me with ideas, and like we have like little strategy calls where she'll be like, Grace, I think you should be posting more of this type of content. Or like when I was telling her I wanted to start a podcast, she was like really helpful with like tips and like what we should do. So definitely, I think if you find a good manager and like you think it's worth it for you, and you maybe don't have that free time to do all this on your own, it's definitely a good idea, I think.
If someone's listening to this and they're like, I want a manager, that sounds great, what would your advice be for finding one?
Yeah, so I think you do have to be really careful, because there are some like of these agencies that really take advantage of like especially younger talent or talent that have just started posting who don't know like what to charge. And they might kind of promise you all this stuff and then actually not be that helpful, and then they're still taking a cut of all your money and they're not really helping that much. So I think you do have to do your research. The way that I found my different agency that I'd have been with before was I literally just searched up my favorite influencers and saw who they were managed by. So normally they'll have it in their bio, or they'll have like an email in their bio that's like and then the name of the talent management agency. So I found creators that had similar content to me, because I knew if they were getting brand deals, that the sort of brand deals I wanted to do, then they'd have those connections, and just people that I liked, or like people that I saw doing ads that I liked, and I just literally emailed or DM'd all of those agencies and just was like, hi, did you have any space on your, they'd call it a roster, so I'd be like, do you have any space on your roster, like I'd love to talk to you guys about potentially managing me. So that's what I would do. And
how many do you think you messaged before you got any back?
Well, when I first started looking for an agency, I had like not many followers. Well, I still had a lot, but I think I had like 20,000 on Instagram, and I was like messaging all these big agencies who obviously probably wouldn't reply to me, and it did take a while, and I did have calls with quite a few different people, and I think that is really important to kind of see what everyone's saying. Like I remember one management was telling me like, you should start posting travel content, like your pictures are really good of you on holiday, and I was like, I don't want to do that. So I was like, no, they're not a good fit for me. Like they clearly don't understand like what I'm posting. There was one agency I had a call with that I really liked, but then they were based in Manchester, and they said they couldn't like meet me in person ever. And I was like, well, that's not really what I want. Someone that I can like go for coffee with, or like that can help me at events or come to events with me. So yeah, it's a lot of trial and error really. And I think talking to friends in the industry, if you have any friends that are influencers, ask their opinion, because there might be agencies that look really good on paper, but then when you actually speak to someone, maybe they've had a bad experience. So I think, yeah, just really doing your research and like seeing who's managed by who and kind of trying to work out what sort of vibe the different agencies are. Okay, now we're going to go into some questions because we had quite a few questions from you guys. Someone said, have you ever had questionable experiences with other influencers? I feel like...
Name names.
No, I'm not gonna, I don't want to get sued. The majority of influencers I meet are really nice, but at events sometimes it can feel, like I said, a bit like school. And I think it's not necessarily like people are being mean on purpose. I think just at events people will stick with like the people they know, and like they'll all stand in a group with the people they know, and if someone comes up to them that they don't know, they're not going to be as friendly as they are with their
I have been
friends.
To one event with Grace. We went to Thor Park for
Yeah.
the opening of the new roller coaster. It was so fun. But yeah, I definitely noticed that everyone was kind of grouped in their own little groups, and I don't know, like there were some really friendly people, but then some other people you just don't
speak to.
really know.
But
if you,
it's hard because like I am not an extrovert, so if I know someone at an event, I'm too scared to go up to people. So I think you might be thinking like, oh, they're so rude, they're not talking to anyone, but actually inside they're really anxious and they might have anxiety and they just want to stick with the people they know.
It's kind of hard. You can't really make assumptions about what someone's thinking or how they're acting when you're at a social event where they could be feeling really nervous.
Yeah, but I think you can tell like if there's some that like are like giving you judgy looks or like whispering and you kind of feel like it's about you. Like obviously you know they're maybe not the nicest people, but it is hard. And like one thing about me is I will not go to an influencer event by myself anymore, because I've been a few times. The first ever event I went to was by myself.
That must have been really scary.
Yeah, it was when I just started uni. I was 19 and I went up to a group of girls and I said like, oh hi, what's your name? And they all just looked at me and they walked off. And I went to the toilet and I called Ella and I was like, I just went up to people and
crazy.
spoke to me. And I was like so upset and I was like, oh my God, I've got to keep, like, I can't just go home. Like I've come all the way to London for this event. Like I've got to like keep going. So I like went into the actual event and I just spoke to all the staff members. People were all really friendly and nice.
That's a good idea.
So it was an event where there was like little kind of stands, like pop-up things, so I was just going around talking to all the different staff members, but I did feel like a bit like a loner. Like I was thinking like the staff members probably think I'm just this person on their own, but that scared me. So from then I was like, I'm never going to go to influencer events on my own. I'm always either going to ask for a +1 so I can just bring one of my friends, or like ask who's going, or like work out who's going. If anyone I know is going, I'll go with them. But I have tried it a few times since then. That was like 3 years ago, and I have since then gone to events by myself, but I feel like the same thing happens. I don't know if it's just because I have like anxiety and I just can't bring myself to like go up to people, but I'll just be stood in a corner and like no one's gonna come up to you unless you go up to them. And I do try, and some of these events I have made friends with people, but I still just feel awkward and I just feel like I'm just hanging. I'm like I've stuck myself to this person and they're probably thinking in their head like, who is this random girl, like why has she got no friends, like so I always just feel awkward. I think it's more in my head though. I don't think actually I appear that awkward at an event, but I always will go with someone, or like make sure that someone I know is going and like stick with them the whole time. But yeah, so I would say like those events, sometimes you have people who might seem like they're not being very chatty, and I think I've definitely heard things from other friends in the industry that like there are some people who like won't speak to others unless they know how many followers you have.
That's scary.
And I feel like that has happened to me before. Like one time I went to this event with my friend, and we were both like invited there as influencers, and one of the staff members didn't realize, I think, that I was also a content creator. I think they just assumed that I was a +1 to this friend I was with, and the whole event she was being super nice to my friend, offering her goodie bags, offering her loads of stuff, do you want a drink, whatever, and she did not talk to me the whole time. She was just talking to my friend. And it was an event where like you could take some clothes home, so we were like trying on clothes, and then I asked for like a bag to put my clothes in. The girl was like, you're not allowed to keep the hangers, and was like being really weird, and like she let my friend keep the hangers and she didn't let me keep the hangers of the clothes.
So did she not realise that you were also invited to the event?
So she thought I would just turned up.
One?
Yeah, she thought I was just like a random girl that had turned up with the friend, and she was being like so rude.
That's just such a bad strategy, because they have no idea who any of these people are. So
yeah,
you could be talking to someone who would become like the next biggest thing.
Well, it was just,
and that's what she was doing.
But the brand, it was a big brand, and I'd worked with them before on a paid deal, so like I'd work with them. And after the event, I went home and I told my manager, but I went home from that event feeling so rubbish, and like it was just really sad that like they would treat someone like that they just because they assumed I like didn't have followers,
but even
they
if
thought
you didn't,
I could treat
it's
me
just
worse.
Really rude to treat a human being like differently to
like,
another human being.
Yeah, we're all humans. And then afterwards I told my manager, I was like, I'm never going to work with them again, like I don't want to work with that brand again. But after that event I just kind of realized how some people, and even this person worked at the brand, they would see people so differently based on the fact that they thought I had followers or didn't have followers, which I think is just crazy. Like, we're all human beings, and like we're all like, I just don't.
It's like that episode of Black Mirror where they rate each other.
The social status, yeah, honestly. And sometimes it does feel like that at events, and I've heard stories of other influencers who like only will talk to the girls that they know, and then it's kind of like assumed that like then if you see them at another event, once they know you or have followed you, then they'll be nice to you because now they know you have followers. And I just think it can be this weird thing in the industry of like, some people will only want to be friends with people with followers because then they feel like if they post together they'll gain followers from this new friend they've made, so then they don't want to be friends with someone with no followers because they feel like it's not worth being friends with them, which I think is crazy.
Do you find that kind of difficult, because obviously some of your friends do have followers? Do you find it kind of like, do you ever worry about whether your friendships are genuine or not? Does it make you question it sometimes?
Yeah, I think it definitely could, and like I am more aware of it. Like I'm aware, like if someone like, sometimes I'll go for dinner with someone that I've met at an event, and they'll be like, do you want to be in a picture, and like really like wanting to do posts together, and it's like the first time I've met up with them, and I'm a bit like, it could just be that you want to get a picture, but like I feel like you wouldn't act like that if you were just friends. Like normally when I go for dinner with my friends, I'm not like taking loads of selfies and tagging them.
I always forget to take photos.
Yeah, like normally I'm too busy talking and like catching up with them. So if they're like, or like sometimes they will. One time I met up with someone and they were like secretly taking a picture of me, and I could tell, and I was like,
did they post it?
I think it was like to send to their friends to be like, which obviously is nice if they're like excited to be at dinner.
How are you having dinner with them if they're being like that, like a fangirl?
Yeah, I think it can just be a bit awkward because like obviously I'm not like, I don't think I'm more important than anyone because I have followers, but you have to like be aware of like someone might be trying to take advantage of you.
Yeah.
But I feel like the majority of my friends that I have that are like in the industry, most of them I've now been friends with for quite a few years, and I feel like I've got those friends and like I know that like they're not like that. I know that they're genuine friendships, and mainly because we don't often post together that much, or like if we do, it's because we've both said like, okay, we want to do this video together, like we've got an idea and it is useful for both of us to make the video together. Whereas I feel like if it's someone that's like, can I get a shout out, or like wanting just me to post about the friendship,
or if the only time you ever talk is to create something, then that might be a bit of a telltale sign.
Or like people that don't message you to check up on how you're doing, but then they message you because they've got a video idea. It can be a bit awkward, but then it's strange because friendships in the industry, some people just see it as like colleagues at work.
Yeah, that's
the
true.
Same way that if you were in an office job, you're obviously only going to meet up with your friends when it's work time.
Yeah.
And you're just going to work together and then go home. But I think it's just knowing like what those types of friendships are. And like, I know some of my friends in the industry are my actual true friends, and I would still be friends with them if I didn't do this job anymore.
It's probably a bit more difficult because the boundaries are probably a bit more blurred, because if you're working, that actually usually means going to each other's houses and hanging out and making videos that are about hanging out and doing things that friends would do. So it might be a bit confusing. I don't know.
Yeah, it is weird, and like it can happen in the industry where like your managers will like encourage you to film together, or like your manager might know someone and they'll want you to film together, and that is very much like a work thing. But then yeah, it's like, well, if we're going to film together, you have to come to my house, and that feels kind of like intimate, and it's like, I don't want someone I don't know coming into my space, and like then you're worried about like them knowing where you live, and like I don't know, they could tell people like where you live or be filming you in secret, which, you know, happened to me before at dinner. So I think I am just more careful and like just aware of like what could be someone's intentions. But honestly, the majority of girls I know, I feel like I am friends with people that make similar content to me. So like all the girls that make like body positive content are all really nice people, because that's kind of their vibe anyway, and like I could tell that from their account that they're going to be friendly and nice. But then I feel like there's some influencers that maybe even online appear a bit,
if you like, made more gossipy, judgy kind of videos.
Yeah, or if you're like
those kind of creators,
a fitness influencer who may be very like talking about beauty standards all the time and like judging people who are overweight in their videos. Obviously I know they're probably not going to be a nice person to be friends with. So I think I tend to gravitate towards people that are friendly people, and they end up being my actual like genuine friends. But yeah, I think it can be tricky, and it can be like a weird thing. Someone said, who is the meanest influencer you've ever met?
Name names.
I'm not going to name names. There is someone in my mind though that
you can tell me after.
Yeah, there's someone I know that a few of my friends have had bad experiences with, and
who is it?
And I'd heard a few things about this person, and I met them at an event once, and they were saying like rude things about other influencers in front of me, and I always think that's a red flag, where like if it's someone that you've just met is being really mean and like gossiping about other creators, it's like, what if I was friends with them? Like, you don't know me. Like,
yeah, they obviously don't care.
Yeah, or they're like judging people in front of.
Do that.
Yeah, and she didn't speak to me much apart from to gossip about these other creators. And then as soon as we got home from the event, I followed her because I'd met her for the first time. And then at the next event I went to with this same person, she was super nice and friendly to me, and like super like wanting to get pictures together and like be best friends. And I was like, oh, interesting. Like, and I've seen her be quite horrible about others in front of me. And
did you have more or less followers than her at that point?
I had more. So then I think, yeah, she was like wanting to be my friend, which, yeah, it's just awkward. But I feel like I always see the best in people. So even when I hear stories about that, I'm like, oh, well, maybe she was having a bad day. And I'm like trying to see the best in people. And I'm like, well, maybe there was another reason she didn't include you. Maybe she was having a bad day. Or, you know, I
think you're too nice sometimes.
Yeah, I see the best in people. And like, I always give people too many chances. And like, I'm like, well, maybe something was going on that day, and she felt so bad in herself that she felt the need to comment on other people's appearance, because clearly you're not happy if you're doing that. And then I'm like, well, no, I feel bad for her, because clearly she hates herself so much. She's talking bad about other people.
And not be mean about other people.
Yeah,
it's not an excuse.
Yeah, but I do think I do like try and see the best in people, probably to my disadvantage sometimes. But yeah, that's probably someone that I've heard bad things about and that I didn't have a great experience with. Someone said, which influencer has the most followers that you've ever met? I don't know. I feel like I don't when I meet people at events, I just sort of know them as like their name. I don't often like search up how many followers they have.
It's not like you have a little like the thing in Black Mirror where they walk around with like a sign on their head.
Yeah.
It's not like you're walking around picturing that.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people have such different followers. Like I feel like some people, if they started on TikTok, they might have loads on TikTok and then less on Instagram, so it's kind of hard to say.
But also you can have loads of followers but not a very engaged follower
like
count.
Community.
Like, on TikTok I actually have like a lot of followers, but I have barely any engagement because I don't really put that much effort into my community building or anything.
Yeah,
it's not my full-time job. Like I don't really have the time or the energy to like do it. So someone could look at my account and be like, wow, but then if you actually know what you're looking at, you'd realize that it's not really that impressive.
That is one thing about like posting online and like getting brand deals and stuff. It's more about your engagement and like your likes and your views and your comments than your follower count. Like follower account can get you to a certain point and like can get you some brand deals, but the money, like you get paid more depending on your engagement and how many views, because why would a brand pay for you to make a video if it's going to get 100 views.
And if it gets a lot of views, but the people don't follow you, that doesn't really matter because the person's still viewing the content. So that's more important to the brand.
Brands care more about, just who's watching it, and are people commenting that they want to try the product, or are people actually buying it with your link click. That's more important to brands than like how many followers you have, because there's all those like bot accounts where it's just they have 1 million followers but they get like 1 like. Like they're not a brand's not going to pay them the same amount. They might pay someone with 10,000 followers but 10,000 comments on every post and a really engaged community. They're going to get paid more than someone with loads of followers but no views or no comments. So I don't know who I've met probably ever in my life. The person I've met with the most followers was probably when I met Dua Lipa on the red carpet at the
Ariana
Barbie
Grande. She has more, doesn't
I wouldn't
she?
really say I met Ariana though.
You were in a photo with her.
Took a pic. I was like, Ariana, do you want to get a picture? And then she
Did you
walked
meet
off.
Dua? Really? Like,
Yeah,
did you talk
I
to
actually
her?
talked to
Did
Dua.
you?
Yeah, there's a video of me talking to Dua, and I'm like, Dua, can you be in my burial? And she was like, what's that? And I was like, can you just get a picture with me, please? And Dua Lipa did my burial, so that's my claim to fame, that she did my burial and she didn't know what burial was. And I've got that on camera because someone like at the premiere that was like, lined along the red carpet took a video of us interacting, and I was like, wow, I've got a video.
Should we insert a clip of it?
Yeah, there's a video of me and Dua Lipa.
Insert clip.
Yeah, I guess she's probably has the most followers of someone I've met in real life.
I feel like that's almost a different level. That's a different world to what we're talking
celebrities
about.
are a whole different thing to influencers. But someone said, do influencers ever feel pressured to take Insta-worthy photos or videos all the time? I definitely felt this. I feel like when I first started posting, I had this pressure even more, because when Instagram was more photos than the reels, it was like I had to post a good picture every day, and I was doing all this fashion content, and it was like I need to have a different outfit every day.
You used to go around London taking photos in your outfits, but now you just get your phone snatched if you did that.
Yeah, or even like in lockdown, I would like walk around the fields by my parents' house and like take my tripod and take pictures every day and like have a new picture every day. And I remember I used to get this like anxious feeling whenever the sun would come out and it would be golden hour. I would get this anxious feeling if I was doing something other than taking pictures, because every day I was like, well, that's the time I take my pictures at golden hour every day in my bedroom or like around my parents' house. And if I wasn't taking pictures and I saw the sun, I would get this feeling of like almost like fear of missing out, and I feeling like I'm not being productive and that I should be doing that. And for years
I know that feeling. I think it's a thing that
it's like
creative
time is running
people
out.
Get. Yeah.
And whenever it would be sunny for years, I would be like, it wasn't even like I was purposely thinking it.
That's probably not a healthy
it still
way to
happens
be in,
now. Like
it?
today, it was gonna be. Today it was
sunny for about 10 minutes.
Today it was cloudy most of the day, and then suddenly the sun came out and I was still in my pajamas and I wasn't like ready. I wasn't ready, like I wasn't going to make any content today, like my normal reels and stuff. And then I just get this feeling of like, oh, I should have, like, why didn't if I was ready right now, I could go and get all this content, and like this pressure of like, when the sun's out, it seems like it's like the opposite of like a vampire who can't see the sun. Like I see the sun and I'm like,
you should enjoy the sun, but now you just think of sun as light, as in work.
And I feel like I also have this pressure, like whenever I'm on holiday as well. I feel like holidays are, I wouldn't say they've been ruined, because obviously I'm very privileged to be able to go on a holiday and like I still have a great time. But on holiday, it's like every night at dinner, I should be getting a picture, I should be getting content, I need to be doing a what I eat in a day on holiday. Like every holiday I'm now working because I can't take a week off posting.
Every interesting thing you do becomes content after a while.
Yeah, which I think is weird, and like I think it's worse if you're like a daily vlogger or if you're really like a lifestyle creator. I feel like the sort of content I post, I can just film a few videos and then post them like a week later, and like it's not like I need to be constantly up to date and like people knowing exactly what I did that day. But those people that are like daily vloggers, like when I did Vlogmas in December last year for my YouTube channel, it was so stressful because it was like everything I did in the day, I had to be filming it. Like I was making lunch. Oh God, I should have been filming that. I ate lunch. Oh, I should have done a time lapse of me eating lunch. I cleaned my flat. Oh, I should have been like, why didn't I tell them I was cleaning my flat?
That's so exhausting. I think that would drive you crazy after a
Yeah,
while.
every single thing I did, even if I was driving to the supermarket, I was like, oh, why didn't I bring my tripod mount in my car? I could have driven with me to the supermarket. It's like every single thing I did in my day.
Yeah, that's exhausting.
And even like getting ready for bed, when you want to switch off, it was like, well, I need to film my skincare routine.
I think there's a reason why all those daily vloggers eventually burnt out, and now there's hardly any, really.
Yeah. Well, I remember, like, do you remember the Saucony Jolies, the like family channel that used to be, they used to be friends with like Zoe and Alfie and all the Brick crew.
No, I don't know.
Oh, but there was this family.
You always have such random references that I never know.
Josie's too old to understand anything I say. There was this family channel, and I remember they daily vlogged a long YouTube video every single day of the week for like 10 years as their children were growing up.
I mean, that would actually be amazing to look back at, I guess.
As a child, yeah.
If it was sort of positive and nice, but at the same time, that's just kind of blows my mind.
Like,
imagine having that much footage of your life just visible for anyone to see.
Yeah, like it would be like the birth of their children, and then like now their children are like teenagers, so their children can look back at every single day of their life for like so many years, which I think is, I mean, that's a whole nother discussion of why I don't think children should be on the internet. But yeah, it's just insane. And like every single day, no matter what they were doing, like their wedding day, the day she gave birth, having a newborn baby, Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, everything was content and filming constantly, which I think, yeah, I just don't understand how like daily vloggers do it. Even people that do it just on TikTok, it's like you still got to be filming clips of everything you do in your day.
I think I used to get that when I went out and about, and I brought like my sketching stuff everywhere. I'd feel like I would want to sketch every single view, or if I was on holiday, I'd want to sketch it and then film it and then post it, and then it just gets very exhausting after a while.
Yeah, and I feel like even I did this before I started posting as like an influencer. Whenever I would get ready for a night out and like look all glam and have a fun outfit on for a party or for a night out, if I don't get a good picture, it's like the night is ruined.
You don't want to waste it.
And I'm like, what was the point?
Although I will say, you are very good now at taking pictures quickly because you know exactly the right angles. You've trained all of your friends and family to know how to take.
Yeah, my boyfriend knows the angles.
Yeah, the burst mode and all of that. Like, I didn't know all of that before you taught me. Yeah, like now I'm like, I can take a picture.
Yeah, nowadays, like I am much more mindful about it. And even if I get that feeling in my body, I tell myself like, no, it's fine, you don't need to be taking content all the time, you've got enough content, you've got enough drafts to post. And yeah, like on a night out, I can quickly take a few pictures before I leave, and then I'm done, I'm fine, because I've got a good one. But if I don't have a good one, I'm like, oh, like what a shame, like this is so annoying. Like I went to this movie premiere a few weeks ago, and like we didn't take many pictures before we left because I was like, we're gonna get some there. And then when we went, there was actually nowhere good to get a picture, so then I just got none. And I'd spent hours getting ready.
I didn't see many pictures from that event.
Yeah, and I didn't have any pictures, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, but then I guess for that it kind of makes sense because you're going there
to get content.
Get the content, basically.
Yeah,
and to watch a film or show, I guess. But
yeah, but I think it is hard, and I feel like if you're definitely like a photos based creator, like someone that posts like pictures all the time, can be a lot. But I feel like now I don't even post Instagram pictures that often.
Yeah, there's not many accounts that just post photos, is there?
I feel like I post them like once a week, if not less than that.
But that's still quite a lot for most people.
Yeah, but like, for an influencer, like you'd expect, like I used to post every single day a different picture. And I just don't know how I kept up with that.
How many videos do you post a week? How many reels do you post a week now?
I tried to post a reel a day.
Oh, okay.
But some days, like on weekends, I might be like, oh, it's Saturday, I'll go, like... But I would say it's probably on average 5 times a week. Okay. But I try to do 7. Like every day, I think I'm posting a reel today. And I do that on all my platforms.
That's a lot.
But when I first started posting on socials, I was posting 5 TikToks a day.
Whoa.
When it was locked down, I mean, I had nothing better to do. I was making 5 Gossip Girl TikToks a day. posting 5 every day, and that's how I like grew my account so quick, because I was posting
Well, that
5
is the
every
advice
single
they
day.
say, isn't it? You just have to post a
You just have
crazy
to post.
amount.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's very healthy, that amount.
Yeah, and
but
there's just not many people whose lives have the time. I mean, I guess if you were like at school or something, I don't know who the hell has the time to be doing many things.
I think that's why so many influencers started in lockdown, because all these people
Suddenly
that
had
normal
time.
jobs or were at school now had all this time, and then because they blew up in lockdown, now they're a full-time influencer and they have time to keep up with whatever they were posting in lockdown, which I think has happened to most people. But yeah, I feel like if I had a 9-to-5 job, or even like when I was at uni the past 3 years, it was harder to keep up with, and that's why I ended up just posting 1 a day rather than 5 a day.
Yeah, well, I think that's personally why I found it very hard to keep up with my social media. And to be honest, I don't really post that much anymore because I have a full-time job, and then I have lots of other hobbies,
And we're doing a podcast.
And then, you know, it gets dark so early.
In
so
the winter,
the time
yeah.
when it's light, when I should be filming something, is when I'm working. So there's not really that much I can do. But now I just film random things. I just now do it literally as a hobby.
Yeah, you're not
I
doing
enjoy
it to
doing
try and
it.
earn money.
I'm not necessarily trying to earn money from it. If one day that
It'd be
happens,
a bonus, yeah.
I wouldn't be mad about it. But
Yeah.
I'm just kind of doing it as a hobby because I enjoy it, and I like looking back on like little YouTube videos, like my little knitting vlogs.
Yeah,
and things.
that is one thing that I like, having been posting online for like 5 years now. It's so nice to look back on stuff, like especially my YouTube videos. I think that's the one thing I like look back on the most, like a vlog of like a day out or like a holiday, or like I vlogged 2 out of 3 of the times going to the Eras tour, and now I can like I have that on video.
Yeah, that's so cool to be able to
and,
just
like,
watch that back.
The video of me and Ella going to Edinburgh is just so funny, and like whenever I watch it I'm just laughing, and like it's a good memory, because even though I do have a good memory, which I talk about on the podcast all the time, sometimes you forget stuff, and you forget like stuff that happens, and to have it on camera is cool. But then there's a difference between the occasional vlog and like being a vlogger who vlogs every day, because that's kind of a lot. But yeah. Okay, the last question I'm going to answer is, someone said, is it a lonely job? I feel like it definitely can be. I think if you don't make an effort to like either go to events or to meet up with other creators or just meet up with friends in your day-to-day life, it can be really lonely. Like if I wanted to, I could not physically speak or see anyone for months. Like I could just not leave the house if I wanted to. Like obviously you've got to like get your food shopping and stuff, but like
you could just get delivered.
Yeah, like you could, especially if you're an influencer that doesn't even talk in their videos.
Because you don't talk in all of your videos.
No, some of mine I do, but some of them I don't. And if I'm just filming ones where I'm not talking, and if my boyfriend's away or at work, I might not physically say a word for weeks.
Your voice might just stop working.
Yeah, I might not talk for weeks. Like, but you could end up just not...
We do also have a podcast.
Well, yeah, now we have the podcast. I have to talk at least once a week with Josie, and see Josie once a week at least. But I think, yeah, if you're an influencer who doesn't talk in their videos, like it could get so lonely, especially if you lived by yourself. I mean, luckily I live with my boyfriend, so it's like I have him to talk to at the end of the day. But I think just trying to make friends in the industry so that you have people you can talk to, because my friends from school that have normal jobs, like if I'm lonely in the day, I can't be texting them because they're at work and they're not on their phone, whereas I can text my friend, like my friend Casey, who has the same job as me. I can like voice note her in the middle of the day, or like FaceTime her, and like we can talk about stuff. So I think having friends that you can talk to like during the work day, that maybe are in the same industry, so it kind of feels like you've got like colleagues. And then my manager Siobhan, who I have, she will send me voice notes throughout the day, so I have someone to talk to. And like I think having a manager, a really good manager that like cares about you, is something that's helped me not feel lonely. Because if I think of an idea for a video and I want to tell someone, but my boyfriend's at work and there's like none of my family care about, they don't understand, like I can't explain to my mum this video idea because she'll be like, what? I don't know what that is. But I can voice note my manager, and then she can be like, oh my God, that's a good idea. Or like, oh, I think you should actually do this instead. Or like, you should use this sound for that trend. So I think that is nice, having like sort of people in the industry that you can talk to, because yeah, I can get quite lonely. But I think it's nice that you, even though it's not your full-time job, like Josie understands socials because you do post. So like if I want to talk through an idea, or like if I get a brand deal and like want to tell someone, then you know what I'm talking about at least.
I'm kind of on the outside, but I kind of vaguely understand it.
Yeah, like
although you're so much faster at making videos than me.
Yeah, I think after so many years, I've just become a speedy person.
I remember one time you made about 20 reels.
Yeah.
It was TikTok.
I was visiting Josie in Australia.
Yeah, and I was just like, I can't think of any ideas. And you sat down and you came up with 20 different videos and saved them all to drafts, and you did it in about an hour, and I was just like, that would have taken me a whole week.
I went back on your phone and just used like clips of stuff you'd already filmed, and I was like, well, we can remake these into loads of videos.
Can you do that for me again?
If you pay me this time.
Yeah.
I'm too busy making the clips for the podcast. Yeah. I hope everyone appreciates all the little clips. That's all me. It's all down to me.
One day I need to just sit down and just focus on doing it, but I've got too much knitting to do. I just can't.
The knitting again, guys. Aren't we bored of hearing about the knitting?
No, it's great.
You've almost finished your jumper now.
I actually have finished it.
Well, there you go. You have to wear it in the next episode.
I'll wear it in season 2, episode 1.
Wow, that's very exciting. So everyone's going to stay tuned just for that reveal of your jumper you've been knitting. But yeah, I feel like it can get lonely, and I think that's something you have to be aware of if you're someone that needs to be talking to people, or someone that's like an extrovert that like can only work well. Okay, I think that's all the questions we've got time to answer. I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I feel like I have so many more stories, and like there's so much more stuff we could talk about.
There's also a lot of stuff that you can't say on the microphone.
Yeah, there's been a few stories where I've had to whisper to Jose.
I've just got a lot of gossip that we can't release to the public.
No,
unfortunately.
But I feel like there is much more stuff we can talk about in a part 2. So maybe if you like this episode, please let us know in the comments.
Maybe if you're thinking about trying to grow your social media, maybe we could do an episode
a topic about that.
About,
like
tips
our
and tricks.
Tips. Yeah. But yeah, I hope you really enjoyed. Make sure you're following us on Instagram and TikTok at My Big Sister Podcast, because on the Instagram stories, that's where I ask the questions to answer in this part of the podcast. But yeah, I hope you're all having a really good week. Hopefully we'll see you next Wednesday for another episode. If you want to follow our personal accounts, my name is @Grace Tutty on TikTok, Instagram, and wherever else you want to find me.
And I'm Josie V Tutty on Instagram and Josie Violet on TikTok. And if you just search some combination of those names, I'll probably come up with somewhere
Josie never
else.
knows what her username is, so I mean, I don't even know. But I really hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and we will see you next Wednesday for another one. Bye. Guys.